Howdy, and welcome to the Lost Rider podcast. It's an honor and privilege to address you in the capacity of an interviewer, reporter, and media member. Too many modern media outlets have forgone the integrity and responsibility required of credible information sources. What you will receive here are straightforward discussions with legislators, agency leaders, biologists, engineers, doctors, and countless other experts that have the answers to questions often circulated as kitchen table issues. The title Lost Rider may be thought of literally as well as in the metaphorical sense. While there has been the instance that I was momentarily a little turned around at night in a wilderness area, the idea of being a lost rider in life, well, that fits most folks at some time. These renderings are coming to you in the form of the 25-year-old radio program, The News from the Camp House. It still airs every Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Time on KULM 98.3 FM out of Columbus, Texas. The original intent was to relate outdoor topics to the general public. Immediately, it was found that all issues are relatable to the outdoors and that people are people. They all play a role and they all have a vested interest. It's this program's desire to answer common questions about how the world works, how it will operate in the future, and what's the holdup. So please listen, enjoy, and never hesitate to contact us with more questions and feedback. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, the listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brown. This weekend's edition is also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club. Country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, now, tell you what, we're doing something this weekend, a little different again. Got a gentleman with us today. He's never been on here, and that's a shame. I should have had him on a long time ago. Lance Stancik, okay? Lance is over here, Pintail Hunting Club down here in Garwood. All right, and it's like I said, I should have had him on a long time ago. But no, this is all fun. This is all good stuff. Now, Lance, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Herman. How about yourself?
Well, so far so good. We'll see how it goes today. Everything's been going along pretty good so far. Now, we're out here at the Pintail Hunting Club right now. We are actually at a podcast summit. This is put on by Derek York. He's a Texas Outdoor Writer member, and he's been doing this podcast summit for a number of years. It was usually held out towards central West Texas, but now brought it to Garwood, so we're all here close at home. Got a great group of people here from all over the United States. And the Pintail Hunting Club is also the host to the Waterfowl Brigades. It's part of the Texas Brigades program where they have youth academic camps, and this is one of them. And it's a great facility. I'm going to let Lance tell us a little bit about it. Lance, what year did you pick this up?
We bought in June of 2015.
Okay, June of 20. All right. I'm
10th
trying.
year.
Your 10th year in here. Who had it before?
The Shimmick family owned it prior to us.
Okay, Al Wayne had it.
That's correct.
And okay, that's what I was trying to remember. Pintail Hunting Club, that's something Al Wayne had. He was one of my classmates.
Okay.
All right. So Al Wayne used to have this. Lance picked it up, and you've built a lot of stuff.
We have. We took the foundation of what was here and made it our own. You know, we've added on, really brought everything up to date and made it feel more like home for us.
All right. What was the impetus? What made you think about doing this?
You know, I've been in the waterfowl business pretty much all my life, my adult life, and we wanted to give our clientele, you know, a home away from home in the waterfowl business. You know, they could come here, one-stop shop, enjoy the countryside we have, and offer some of the best hunting in Southeast Texas for waterfowl.
All right. It's so duck and geese.
That's correct. Waterfowl, ducks and geese.
Sure.
We're stewards of the land, and we're constantly trying to improve this land for waterfowl.
All right. It's probably rude to ask. How much country? Do you go all the way to the coast?
No, sir. We've got a footprint of about 30,000 acres owned right here in Colorado and Wharton County.
Okay. No, that gives you plenty. How many guides do you roll at a time?
We've got 14 guides. We normally run an average of 26 clients per day. The lodge here sleeps 32, double occupancy. So we've got the ability to host a number of hunters throughout the winter.
Okay. All right. Now 10 years, you've been in here for 10 years. So you've been here long enough to see some stuff. You've been here kind of to get a feel for the business, feel for the clientele, feel for, over that 10-year period, how many of the old clients from Shimmick did you carry on, and how many new clients since then?
Honestly, very few. I had a business prior. I've been guiding 24 years now. So I brought all my clientele over, and we've built upon that. There's still a couple faces still that have been coming to the Pintail for many years. But it's been a transition, so to say, from one business owner to the next.
Okay, I was familiar with like the elk hunting and the mule deer hunting and all the stuff that I did in Montana and Wyoming, and I saw a wide variance. I saw guys that hunted with us for 20 years in Wyoming, and then I saw guys that you'd see them every other year. You'd see guys that you'd see every third or fourth year. You'd see gentlemen who wound up bringing their sons back and that type of thing. But then you always had the new guys. Is that about the same?
It is. There's an attrition rate in everything, but I can tell you we run about a 97% return rate on our clientele.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
It's been really great.
Okay, what about the country? What about and what you said originally about being stewards of the land? Has that improved?
We're improving what we can. I've seen a great change from when I started guiding. This was a goose hunting culture in our area, and that's what the Pintail was originally, a goose hunting culture. We've seen habitat change. We've seen migratory patterns change to where we don't hold the amount of geese we once did. So we transitioned into a duck hunting business, per se. It's very few geese left on the Eagle Lake and Garwood Prairie.
All right. Well, on account of the decline in the rice.
That's up for debate.
Okay.
What I would tell you is it's more has to do with no-till farming in the Midwest. Farming practices have changed. Of course, us losing water in 2011 from LCRA, reduction in rice acres, it's a culmination of things. But I would tell you that no-till farming in the late 80s, when people stopped tilling all that corn ground, the geese found that, and it's a buffet that they have. When our winters are warmer, there's more power plant heated reservoirs along the way. The rivers are staying open. And unless you get that immense snow covered where those birds can't feed on that available resource, they don't have a reason to come further south. And that's what I would say has been the number one reason the geese don't make it as far down anymore.
I'll be damned. Okay, you caught me on that. Yeah, this is all good stuff. This is good information. I hope people are writing this down or taking notes, because it's something I didn't know, and it's something I wondered about, because I'm old enough to remember Marvin Tyler.
Sure.
And more or less how this whole industry was created. And Marvin Tyler spreading out newspapers all over the place. But anyway, I mean, and now it's changed. All right, you talk about no-till farming. So I'm thinking no-till farming in corn country. And what that means is, what you're actually saying is there's very little cultivation. And after they pick that corn, you don't have the cultivation. You're not turning that corn back under. Whatever gets scattered on the ground stays there. And the reason for this is they don't have to cultivate anymore because they have the herbicides or they have the technology that has come along so that they don't have to cultivate.
You hit it spot on. Herbicide, Roundup was key, along with tech and farming, no-till drills. They're not, like you said, cultivating or disking that waste grain under, and that waste grain sits in that colder climate of winter. You're not getting the germination. So like I said, the geese have that food resource pretty much until the spring, until they go back in and plant.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just trying to figure this out. I mean, that's one of the things I've noticed here was watching corn folks, people who plant corn, and realizing all of a sudden, I've got one of my grandpa's old cultivators under the barn, old mule-drawn, horse-drawn cultivator, and I start looking around and go, people don't cultivate anymore, and they don't have to. And now one of the things when you talk to the ag people and you talk to the university people, and they talk about technology and they talk about lasers, and they're still trying to not have to drag cultivators around, but they're trying to get away from some of this chemical stuff.
That's correct. I'm an old duck guy at Herman, but knowing just enough about farming to be a little dangerous, but it's changed, and it's ever changing. You see what's happened on this prairie, the old lows, which were the old depressions in the earth that held that water all winter, where these ducks and geese could go. Most of this ground in this area has been equipped or land leveled.
Yes.
So you're taking away some habitat there, but what we're doing, and we're not the only ones, there's many landowners around here that hold waterfowl in high regard. We're going in and we're actually building habitat just for waterfowl. That's duck ponds. We've worked with DU closely in the past. You've got to put back more than you take, and that's kind of been our motto. If we can get more people to do so, but as you said, ever changing, and we talked about water earlier, we're in a crisis too. It'd probably be one of the biggest fights the state of Texas ever sees one day. We're at the mercy of Mother Nature or the pocketbook, and we're having to drill water wells so we can put that water on the landscape.
Right.
The Garwood Water District is still getting some water from LCRA, but we're going into our third year now in the Eagle Lake District of no Colorado River water. And when you think about that, it really hamstrings you on, not alone on the rice side, but the waterfowl side gets it, right on the noggin.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick break. Thank the folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning. We'll be right back. Thank goodness for all the great sponsors we have here at News from the Camp House. H-E-B Food Stores. That's Stephen Tice at H-E-B. He helps me. He helps the community. He's a great man. I'm so thankful H-E-B loosened him up, lets him go around and sponsor a few things. H-E-B's got all your food needs. It's the greatest food store we got here in Columbus. Thank goodness for H-E-B. First State Bank. You go over to the First State Bank, they'll take care of all your loans, all your deposits, your savings, anything you need. Bunch of great hometown people over there. You got Celia Tobias, John Pollock. Everybody over there is looking out for you. Miss Barbara Barta. It's a great bunch of folks at the First State Bank is also sponsoring News from the Camp House. First State Bank takes care of all my business. Baumgart Agency, Susan Baumgart at the Baumgart Agencies, her and Germania. She told me to plug Germania. Germania is an insurance that she likes to everybody to know about. The Baumgart Agencies. Miss Susan and I are classmates, being classmates. She got me out of high school, sat right beside her, put us in alphabetical order where I could copy. And Susan Baumgart over at the Baumgart Agency, taking care of all your insurance needs. Lyco Realty, one of the original sponsors of News from the Camp House. Lyco Realty, the oldest real estate company in the county, and for the last 3 years voted the favorite realtor in the county. Lyco Realty, that's Miss Kimberly Johnson. That's Crockett's granddaughter. More kinfolks and classmates and great people from Colorado County. People from Colorado County helping people from Colorado County. That's great. Oh, thank goodness for all these wonderful people come to me want to be sponsors for News from the Camp House. Good morning and welcome to the second half of this week's News from the Camp House here this morning with Lance Stancik down here at the Pintail Hunting Club in Garwood. We've been talking about just a little bit of everything. First thing you know, talking about the great facility that they put up down here. Right now we're down here for a podcast summit. Got a whole bunch of podcasters here, radio people, and guests from all over the United States. Lance, this, besides the Texas Brigades and the youth camp here, do you get a bunch of other of these type of events out here?
I wouldn't say this type of event per se, but we do host a number of different corporate events throughout the off season. Everything from we've done weddings to wedding rehearsals to family reunions. It's a way for us to keep everything kind of moving in the off season around here and be ready for winter to come.
All right. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. I mean, it's a very, very, very nice facility. It's great lodging, great food, great people, plenty of room to walk around. It's beautiful out here. You got the tanks. You know, you can go. These folks, you're not going to keep these guys out of your tanks. They're out there fishing. And, of course, they don't keep anything, but they're out there having fun. You got a big old nice fire pit. Everything's beautiful lawn. Place is set up real well. It's good. And, of course, now when we quit, we were talking about the water problems. What about, okay, and you also mentioned how this is all laser leveled now, all your rice fields. You can see that when you're driving in here. And how many of these rice farms, used to be they'd leave parts of the place flooded, or they'd leave something. Or do you still have quite a few of them that help you out as far as duck ponds and fields and that kind of thing?
There is. In our circumstance, of course, what we did, we stopped per se leasing ground and we went out and purchased ground. We wanted to be the ones with, I'll call it the upper hand, where we could put waterfowl above rice, above cows, and we didn't have to worry about, hey, we're going to upset this farmer or this rancher by putting water there. And you still face that on many leases around here. It's a pure economics business. Every landowner has to pay property taxes. They've got money they have to spend. I would say every acre in Colorado County that's viable for duck hunting is leased for duck hunting. Right. It's a big money business. So yes, you are getting those areas flooded. Not many people are doing it just for the habitat of the birds. It's pure economics.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I think I can understand that. You said you got about a 30,000 acre footprint, but that's not all.
That's property my business partner and I put together. We're very fortunate to come in and really blessed to be able to put that together. But that's owned land. Okay. And we also lease. We still have some leases. We probably lease another 15,000 acres in Colorado and Wharton County. So the footprint's actually a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we are actively rice farming that property. We do graze cows on parts of that property. But first and foremost, when we look at that footprint, we figure out what can we do to it, how can we make it better for waterfowl. That's taking precedence over everything else. And then after that, how can we supplement with rice farming, some corn farming, and then, of course, cattle grazing as well.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, that gives us a little bit of idea how you operate. Okay. It all makes perfect sense. And, okay. What about, you said something about the birds are getting held up in the Midwest because of the no-till farming. And we've seen, I mentioned this to one of the guys earlier, one of the other podcasters here, that it seemed like we had gone from a goose hunting culture. You see more duck hunting now than we did in the past. And what about the bird numbers? Because when I was around this 20, 30 years ago, it was all goose hunting, and the duck hunting was kind of a side note. and it didn't seem like there was as many ducks. Is there more now?
By numbers, it's staying pretty consistent for Texas. I would tell you from a human's eye view, it's going to seem like there's way more ducks now because you're not looking at those big hordes of geese everywhere. The game changed. Like I said, economics. You brought up Marvin Tyler earlier, and the Jimmy Reel, the guys, the icons that kind of started all this. Their business model was goose hunting. So when they put up those first big roost ponds, the Lair family, the Winterman family, they all did it. That was for goose hunting. Nobody went in there and messed with those roost ponds. That was home.
Okay.
Now the geese aren't here. So what happens is those ducks are on those roost ponds. Let's go hunt those ducks. And what happens, it's a pressure deal. I would tell you, out of anything in waterfowl hunting, pressure management is number one. These birds are getting pressured more than they ever had. Technology we talked about earlier, you can get to every acre now. There's no hidden gems anymore. There's no hidden potholes in the woods that you can't get a foaler to, or a mud boat or an airboat to. Right. So these birds are getting bounced around all over this prairie. And one thing we've done, those roost ponds that those guys started years ago, we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it for the ducks. We've got those roosts that are unhunted, untouched.
There you go.
And that's what's keeping them in this location.
All right. Everything makes sense. Yes, that's absolutely. All right. Any particular duck, used to be, okay, you got teal season comes up first, and then, it goes on into the regular duck season, I think, if I'm thinking right. And any different numbers in any of those? Do you see more of any one particular type than in the past? And where I'm coming from is because I've had biologists in Montana, talk to me before and ask me what I was seeing, because they were saying that was in their hatch where they hatched out. So they were asking me about that, and and they were asking about particular types of ducks. And I'm in there elk, and I'm in there for the elk, and they're talking about the time of the year I was fly fishing, but ducks were not on my mind. But it gave me the thought that, okay, they're looking for a particular species, and I don't know, is there any difference down here?
Yeah, there is. I mean, of course, we're not by the sea, so we're not getting sea ducks like you would, on the East Coast or West Coast. Mm-hmm. It's a puddle duck area, rice country that we're in, these shallow depressions that were here for eons, the puddle ducks came. It has changed. It used to be a mallard culture of greenheads. Up until about the 50s, you could consistently hunt mallards in Colorado and Wharton County. Okay. Now it's very uncommon to have any mallards around. Pintails, this area holds a ton of pintails. I'd say this is one of the number one wintering areas for the northern pintail when they come down. You mentioned teal. We get a big pulse of blue-winged teal when they're migrating through. Our habitat fits for what they're looking for. We've got all this ground flooded for rice, second crop ratoon rice. Yeah. It's a perfect habitat for them to stop in on their way south. And as you progress through the winter, early season, you're going to see a big mix of ducks as they first push through, because we're catching redheads that are going to the coast. They're going to stop and use our habitat for a couple weeks. They're going to push on through. Then you get, of course, gadwalls, widgeon. That's kind of your bread and butter ducks. And then green-winged teal would be our number one species in this area.
Okay. All right. I got one more really kind of cool topic part of all this. I always considered, and maybe I'm wrong, but I always considered waterfowl on the Texas Gulf Coast as one of the best ways to introduce people to hunting, to get guys out of Houston, out of San Antonio, out of Dallas, out of Austin, everywhere. Get some of these guys out in the outdoors, have fun with a bunch of other guys. It wasn't the hardcore deer camps, haul them up to, the American West and take them elk hunting. It wasn't all that hardcore stuff. That this is, to me, was always a little bit easier and a little bit better way to introduce people to the outdoors. Have you ever had those thoughts?
No question about it. It's the best way in my mind is to take somebody wing shooting first. It's action-packed. You don't have to be quiet in a deer stand. Number one thing for me, of course, I've got kids. My family loves to hunt. I grew up in it. One of the best ways to introduce children to the sport, is wing shooting. And duck hunting just holds a special part in my heart, but we do it all. But duck hunting is the fave around here for sure.
All right, families?
Oh yeah, we get tons of families. I'm kind of the kid guy. I normally get strapped with guiding the youngsters, but I love it, man. Introducing those kids, and normally you make a waterfowl hunter for life.
No, that's good. That's good. Lance, thanks for being with us this morning.
You're welcome, Herman. I appreciate it. Enjoyed being here.
All right. Thank you. All right. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it this weekend. There's a little bit more of a local gentleman on our show this morning. And we got to do that once in a while, don't we? God, I do shows from all over the United States and wherever else, and it's good to have hear a local story. So, all right, hope you got something out of it. Hope you learned something. Now, this weekend's edition was also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club. Country club for folks who don't have a country club. Go out, have a big weekend, have lots of fun, be safe, and y'all just remember, pretty much any day is sure a good day to be out in the woods.